Okay, now we want to implement a Bootstrap form. If you have never used Bootstrap forms before, head over to getbootstrap.com/css. On this page, when you scroll down, you will see a section about forms. And here's a basic example. So we have a couple of text boxes, we have a file input, a checkbox, and a button. And below that, you can see the markup that you need to use to render a form like this, a clean, modern looking form. And if you scroll further, you can see various other examples that may work better for your applications. So now, let's go to vehicleform.component.html. We want to delete everything here and create a Bootstrap form. Now let me show you a quick way to generate markup. This is called Zen coding. So I want to have a form element, and inside this form element, I want to have a div with the class form-group. So this is a Bootstrap class that we need to apply to a div that contains a label and an input field. So here's our div. Now inside this div, I want to have a label, and next to that, I want to have a select for our dropdown list. Now tab, and this is the markup. We don't need the action. So here's our form group. We're going to have a label, call this make. Below that, we have this select. Now we don't need the name attribute. We can set an ID here, like make, and then we can use this value for the for attribute of our label. With this, when the user clicks on this label, this input field will get focus. Now we should also apply a class here, form-control. Again, this is a Bootstrap class that you need to apply to all input fields. So here's our first form group. Now the second one, div.form-group. Inside this div, we want a label, and next to that, we want a select with the class form-control. Now we can take this to the next level. So I can also set the ID attribute here to model, and also apply the for attribute here to model. Now we put the cursor at the end of this line, tab. And here's the result. It's much faster to generate markup using Zen coding. Now let's add this model label here and delete the name attribute. Save. So this is our form. Now make is a little bit too close to navigation bar. So I'm going to add a heading here, new vehicle. Okay, now it's better. Note that I'm not building the entire form yet because I want to make small baby steps. First, I want to implement this cascading drop-down list. Once I implement that, then I'm going to implement features where we render checkboxes dynamically based on the data in the database. And finally, I will add the other input fields. And also, one more thing I want you to pay attention to here is that when we use Angular on the client, we're not going to use Razor views that come with ASP.NET. So all our views are part of the client app, and the server-side app is purely responsible for exposing APIs. We call these APIs to get or save the data. All right, so we have a simple form. Next, we're going to populate these drop-down lists with the data from our API.